Welcome back. This is part 2 of solving systems of equation word problems. If you're following along with the worksheet, you are on the back right now. We're starting at problem number 4. So just a little recap. What we need to do to solve word problems is set up, which means we need to write down what does each variable stand for. In our systems of equations, we're going to have two things we don't know, so two variables. So we need to say what they stand for. We have two equations because that's what makes it a system. And then once we find our two equations, we're going to go to Desmos calculator. We're going to solve. We're going to find where those two equations intersect, and that's our solution. Then we're going to read our question and decide which part, or do we want both, of the solution will actually answer our question. So in this problem, we're at a local restaurant. An extra large pizza costs $5 more than an order of breadsticks. If you buy 3 extra large pizzas and 2 orders of breadsticks, you're going to pay $75. How much does an order of breadsticks cost? So when I'm doing my setup, I know I'm looking for how much things cost. So it's the cost of something. And I know one thing I don't know are breadsticks. How much do they cost? Because that's my question. The other thing I don't know is how much do pizzas cost? So I'm going to let X equal the cost of pizza and Y equal the cost of breadsticks. Now, I put pizza as X because it came first in the problem, but honestly, it doesn't matter. You could have put X as breadsticks, Y as pizza. Just make sure you follow that through in your equations. But it should give you the same answer in the end. All right, so at a local restaurant, an extra large pizza costs $5 more than an order of breadsticks. Kind of the easier sentence to use to start would be that if you buy 3 extra large pizzas and 2 orders of breadsticks, you're going to pay $75. So 3 times the cost of a pizza plus 2 times the cost of a breadstick is going to give me $75. So that means 3x plus 2y equals 75. The second equation is going to come from this first sentence. An extra large pizza costs $5 more than an order of breadsticks. This part right here is very important. It does not say that an extra large pizza costs $5. It says it costs $5 more than an order of breadsticks. Going back to our translations, remember more than stood for plus. So we are adding something. Now, I always find it easiest to think when we're comparing the two things, which one is more? Well, extra large pizza costs more than an order of breadsticks, so pizza costs more. That's the variable that's going to be by itself on one side of the equal sign. On the other side, we are going to have that it costs $5 more than the breadsticks. So therefore, I'm going to take how much the breadsticks cost, y, and add 5 to it. And that's how I get my equation. X equals y plus 5. The pizza costs more, so it's by itself. How much more? $5 more than the breadsticks. Notice I'm adding 5. It does not cost 5 times more. It just costs $5 more. So we're adding 5. Now we go to Desmos. We type in our two equations. And when you first type those in, if you had your screen in a normal screen, you may not see where the two lines intersect. So don't forget, you might need to scroll around a little bit to find where they intersect. Click the point, click it again. The solution should be right there. And in this case, the solution is 1712. So if I go back to my answer, 1712. Now I need to read the question. How much does an order of breadsticks cost? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. So I go back here and I say, okay, y equals breadsticks. So y is the second part of the point. That means breadsticks cost $12. If they had asked me how much a pizza cost, then I could tell you that a pizza costs $17. But in this case, they were just curious about how much the breadsticks cost. For number 5, it's very similar to number 4. You're buying pens and pencils for school. A box of pens costs $1.50 more than a box of pencils. If you buy 2 boxes of pencils and 3 boxes of pens, you will spend $12. How much does a box of pencils cost? So when I'm setting up my equation, I know I'm looking for the cost of something. I have the cost of pencils for X and the cost of pens for Y. Again, you could have written pens for X and pencils for Y. Just be careful when you're writing your equations. Make sure when it says pencils, that's where you put X. When it says pens, that's where you put Y. So my first equation says I have 2 boxes of pencils and 3 boxes of pens, and I'm going to spend $12. So 2X plus 3Y gives me $12. Then, just like before, I'm comparing the box of pens and pencils. It says a box of pens costs $1.50 more than, remember that meant plus, the box of pencils. So what costs more? A box of pens costs more. Pens are Y. So I'm going to have Y equals how much more? $1.50 plus the box of pencils. So X plus $1.50, not times. So that's my second equation. Pens cost more, they're by itself. How much more? Take the box of pencils, add $1.50. They cost $1.50 more. When I type those two into Desmos, you do 2X plus 3Y equaled 12. And Y equals X plus 1.50. Again, when I type that, I can only see kind of part of one line. So remember, scroll around, try to find your 2 lines. And I'm actually going to scroll down a little bit. And when I scroll around, I find where the 2 lines intersect. Click it, a point comes up, click that point. That tells me my solution, 1.53. So I go back. My solution is 1.53. It says, how much does a box of pencils cost? So pencils is my X value. So that would be the first part of the point. So therefore, a box of pencils costs $1.50. Moving on to number 6. Now we're buying concessions at a hot dog game. So at a football game, not a hot dog game. Sam bought 5 hot dogs and 3 drinks at a football game and spent $12.25. James bought 3 hot dogs and 4 drinks and spent $9. We want to know how much did each hot dog cost. So I'm looking at my setup. I'm looking for how much something cost. So it's going to be the cost of something. The 2 things I don't know are how much hot dogs cost and how much drinks cost. So I'm going to let X equal the cost of hot dogs, and Y be the cost of drinks. Again, just because hot dogs came first, that's why I called it X. When I'm reading my 2 equations, these are pretty straightforward. Sam bought 5 hot dogs and 3 drinks, and he spent $12.25. So 5 X's plus 3 Y's gave him $12.25. So that's your first equation. 5X plus 3Y is $12.25. James is our second equation. He bought 3 hot dogs and 4 drinks and spent $9. So therefore, 3 hot dogs, 3X, plus 4 drinks, 4Y, equals 9. So 3X plus 4Y equals 9. When I type those into Desmos, type 5X plus 3Y equals 12.25, I believe. Yes. And then my second equation, 3X plus 4Y equals 9. That happens to just be on the screen for me. So I clicked where the 2 lines intersected. Notice another point did show up here, but that's not where the lines intersect. That's where the line's hitting the x-axis. Be sure to pick the point where the 2 lines intersect. So the 2 lines intersect at the point 2 and 0.75. So I go back to my problem. I write my answer down, 2, 0.75. Then I go back and read my question. It says, how much does each hot dog cost? I go back and look here. I said hot dog was my X value. X comes first in a point. So 2 represents the cost of a hot dog. So that means each hot dog cost $2. And for our last problem, we're talking about the girls' soccer team and the girls' basketball team. It says the girls' soccer team has 5 more players than the girls' basketball team. There are 41 players total. How many soccer players are there and how many basketball players are there? So, if we read our question, we want to know how many soccer players, how many basketball players. So, we want to know the number of players for soccer and the number of players for basketball. So, that's our two variables, x and y. It's what we don't know. So, for my first equation, it says the girls' soccer team has 5 more players than the girls' basketball team. Again, we're comparing. They have 5 more players. Remember, more means plus. I take the number of players and add 5. Who has more, the girls' soccer team or the basketball team? Well, read it without the 5. The girls' soccer team has more players than the basketball team. So the soccer team has more. We called soccer X. So therefore, X is by itself. So X equals, and then we take the number of girls on the basketball team, which is Y, and we add 5 because they have 5 more than the basketball team. Then the last part says there are 41 players total. Well, what types of players are there? There are soccer players and there are basketball players. If I were to line up all the soccer players and then line up all the basketball players beside them and count, I have 41 total people. So I'm simply adding the number of soccer players plus the number of basketball players. So that's how I get my equation. X plus Y equals 41. Because I'm just adding my two variables to get a total of 41. So now go to Desmos, type in your two equations. So X equals Y plus 5, and X plus Y equals 41. Okay, so that's our two equations. I can't really see the solution set yet, so I'm going to scroll around until I can find both lines. And when I do, I see they both intersect right there. Click it, a point pops up, click the point, and that solution is 2318. So I go back to my problems. I type the solution 2318, and then I read the question. How many soccer players are there? How many basketball? So we know X stands for the soccer players, so there are 23 soccer players, and there are 18 basketball players. And that answers my question. There are 23 soccer players, and there are 18 basketball players. So just to recap, how to solve system of equation word problems. The first thing you need to do is figure out, what do your two variables stand for? What are the two unknowns in your problem? The best place to look is at the end. What are they asking you for? That'll give you clues as to what your two variables will be, because that's what you don't know. Once you know what your two variables are, you read the problems and you set up two equations. If you're only writing one equation, you are not finishing the problem. Make sure you write two equations. Once you get that completed, then you go to your Desmos calculator, type in each equation exactly how you wrote it, find where those two lines intersect. You may have to scroll around a little bit to find that intersection point, but once you do, that's your solution. Then you just need to read the question to decide which variable do you need. You might need X, you might need Y, or you might need both. It just depends on the problem. Okay, that is all for systems of equation word problems. Thank you.